Welcome to 10-5, the official podcast of the OPP Association. My name is Scott Mills.
And I'm Emily Brown, and we are the Strategic Communications Coordinators at the OPP Association and your hosts. For those new listeners, the OPP Association represents nearly 10,000 members of the Ontario Provincial Police in Canada. Our members are our focus and our strength, and we're dedicated to keeping our members and the public informed about key issues that impact policing in the province of Ontario.
And this week, we welcome the president of the OPP Association, John Cerasuolo. He's talking to us from his home up in Sault Ste. Marie. And OPP Association Vice President David Sabatini is coming to us from Barrie today. They're going to be talking on the podcast, having a discussion on the recently ratified 2024 civilian and uniform collective agreements. So in addition to the collective agreements, we're going to kind of have a general membership update from the president and the vice president. So welcome, John, and welcome, David.
Thanks, Scott and Emily. Good to be here.
Thank you, guys. It's a pleasure to be here.
So kicking it off, first and foremost, I just wanted to say congratulations to both of you and the entire negotiations team on reaching an agreement and securing strong support from the members with a significant ratification margin.
Thanks, Emily. It was a lot of work. Did get it done, even though it was 2 years overdue, a year and a half. But there was reasons for that, and we've talked about that in the past with the membership. With Bill 124, that was, at play, as well as just wanted to make sure that we could get in front of the government with a clear mandate of what we were trying to do and accomplish for our collective agreement. And that was to, ensure that our members were properly compensated for the work that they do each and every day in the province and the communities that they police. We finally got it done and ratified. That was another goal of ours. The last two contracts went to arbitration. From our point of view, we'd rather get a collective agreement that is fairly bargained in good faith with the employer and bring it to the membership for ratification.
Yes, and on that ratification point, we were very happy with the numbers that came out to vote and the staggering numbers of positive yes votes on this agreement on both the uniform and civilian side of the House.
It was quite impressive. We were talking to Josh Juter, so a lot of you would recognize Josh from being the host here, and we still work very closely with Josh. He's an abundance of knowledge, and he said he's worked here for 10 years, and he's never had to do a ratification vote. So it was an interesting time, and just like with your permission, John and David, and actually just to set the table here, I'd like to read the press release that was issued at the culmination of this process on July 22nd, 2024, for the benefit of people tuning into this who may not be as keenly aware of the news of the new collective agreements.
Sure. Go ahead, Scott.
Sounds good.
All right, so this was issued 5 a.m., July 22nd, 2024, Barrie, Ontario. It went out on the Newswire, and the membership of the Ontario Provincial Police Association have ratified new uniform and civilian collective agreements, making our uniform OPP Association members the highest paid police in Ontario. A staggering 87.7% of the members ratified the uniform agreement, and even more, 92.9% of the members voted to ratify the civilian agreement. The term of the agreements are from January 1st, 2023, so 1 year in retro, to December 31st, 2026, which is 4 years. The percentages of yearly salary increases are retroactive to the dates identified. So January 1st, 2023, 4.75%. January 1st, 2024, 4.5%. January 1st, 2025, 2.75%. January 1st, 2026, 2.75%. And John, you were quoted in this saying our sworn police officers and civilian members work tirelessly to serve and protect the citizens of Ontario each and every day, often putting their own lives at risk. Our members deserve to be the top paid police in Ontario, and we wish to thank the bargaining team on both sides for their diligent work to finalize these collective agreements, and we thank our membership for the support.
Thanks for that, Scott. So let's begin with you, John, and everything that Scott says. You know, it sounds great on paper, but we all know it took an enormous amount of effort to get there. So can you give us a quick summary of how the bargaining process works?
Yeah, contracts usually run for a term. Usually for us, it's a 3-year, 4-year term. I'd like to say right off the bat, because we were without a contract since December of 2022, we were asking for a 5-year deal, but it worked out to our favor. This is a 4-year deal, and we were already a year and a half in once it was ratified, more than a year and a half in without a contract when it was ratified. And we're back at the table in 2026. But what usually happens prior to the expiration of any contract, within 3 months of that contract expiring, we can put in our intent to go to the table and bargain. And, we had delayed that, of course, for reasons I've already spoken about with regards to Bill 124. But usually we put that request into the employer. And for us, a lot of times people get confused when we speak about the employer, they think it's the OPP. Well, it's not entirely correct that it's the OPP. They do sit at the table. They have a say at the table, but it's Treasury Board Secretariat of the Ontario government, which I will refer to them throughout today, more than likely as TBS. They're really the bargaining agent that's at the table. They lead negotiations. It's through a branch of Treasury Board Secretariat called Negotiations Branch. And there is a lead there that we will go back and forth on the various issues and proposals that we put forward at the table. Of course, when you're dealing with the government, there's many various departments that approvals have to be made. So they're not when you're doing these negotiations and you're at the table, they have to go back and get various approvals through various levels of government because there's so many levels. And that tends to delay things when you're at the table as well. Us, of course, being the association, the sole bargaining agent for, our almost 10,000 sworn and civilian members. We are the decision makers. The board of directors are the decision makers when it comes to, the proposals that we're putting forward and the decisions that are being made with regards to the collective agreement. So, as far as I just want to, go on the record, and I have done this at the ratification meetings. It's no one person on the committee that led to the success of this contract being negotiated. It takes a team. It takes the whole team. So, I want to extend my greatest gratitude to the bargaining team, from the legal, the members from the legal department, the labor department, member services, the board specifically that sat on the committee. Without their support throughout the whole process, we would have not have achieved what we did achieve at the table. Sometimes you have to go with the team. You can't have everybody on the team because if it's too big, what happens is that you just get bogged down on the issues. And I think we put a team together that very knowledgeable. We had a lot of subject matter experts with regards to legal, labor, compensation, the various things that we brought back to the membership in the collective agreement as enhancements. So we look at this round of bargaining as a successful round. I think the biggest thing for us was we were able to bring a contract to the membership. And I get it. We can't please everyone when we come back with an agreement. But I think overall, when you look at the arbitrated decisions in the past, we did get some good things absolutely in those arbitrated decisions. And that was, again, the bargaining team bringing those proposals forward. But at the end of the day, you're limited. And I think with this round of bargaining, we were able to achieve things that we would not have achieved at arbitration. So that to me is a big success. With any contract that gets ratified, hey, we pat ourselves on the back, we talk about the successes, but it doesn't end there at ratification. The contract has to be implemented. And even though you have, some minutes of settlement on what the crux of your collective agreement's going to look like, and what the enhancements are, it always comes down to interpretation of who's included, who's not included. And we have to do this through the implementation meetings. And that's the next step with the collective agreement. We're in that process at the moment. Quite a big agenda. There's a lot of items within that collective agreement that were enhanced. So some things will be very quick to work through. And then some things I think we're going to have extensive discussions. So with that, that's our focus right now is the implementation of the new collective agreement. In addition, just like my 3 mandates were when I took over as president, we had to guarantee the integrated mental health program and the funding for that, which we're continuing to work. We do have that secured, but we do have to work on a couple little things with the new inclusion of FXTs in the Encompas program. And the other thing is benefits. And I know we had a lot of questions at ratification on benefits with regards to, hey, there's no enhancements. Why are we ratifying this contract without any benefit enhancements? And we had to explain that they're 2 separate entities because we do self-administer. Although we would love to see it be dealt with at the same time. And we did have that opportunity because our current benefits transfer agreement is expired. But as we got into the collective agreement discussions and included the benefits discussion, we knew that was going to take too long. And we would have held up our collective agreement. So we had to make that decision that we were going to, finalize our collective agreement, bring it to the membership for ratification, and go back to the table in the fall with the benefits and continue to work on enhancements for our members that are, equivalent to the policing profession. We do, our opinion as a committee is we're falling behind in certain aspects. In other aspects, we are well ahead of our police partners and the comparators that we usually compare our benefits to. So with that, it's pretty simple to cherry pick the best benefit with every little department that's out there, police service that's out there. But you have to be cognizant. You can't have the best of everything, even though my opinion is we should be at the top in almost every category with benefits. And we'll bring that argument forward when we are with the government in the fall. But, we did sign a letter of agreement that we're going to do a joint review and have that done by the end of September. We're well on our way to doing that and looking at our comparators, OPS comparators. And I just want to make everyone cognizant. We still are an arm of the Ontario public sector. So even though we can say that we are police and we compare ourselves to police, the biggest hurdle that we have to get through when we're negotiating with government and all the different levels of government is that we are still a segment of the Ontario public sector. And we're compared to the Ontario public sector as well. That's an argument for us to get over when we're at the table, but it's just something that everyone needs to be cognizant that it's present at the table when we are trying to negotiate a collective agreement or benefits, transfer agreement, even an integrated mental health program. What we get, people want, and that's always at the table. So, you know what? I don't want to ramble too much, so I'll just leave it at that for now.
Thanks very much, John. Just a few things that came up there. I just want to reiterate 3 different things here. So a lot of people I find don't understand that the OPP are the only police service that actually had Bill 124, which capped wage increases. prior to it being struck down at the Supreme Court of Ontario level. So that was obviously a significant delay of over a year, waiting for that to get through the courts and that decision to be made. So strategic on the part of the board there to wait that out, because we did get a lot of inquiries about why this is taking so long, especially from our members. We also, a second point, only the OPP Association, out of all the police associations in Ontario, are the only police association that actually self-administer their benefits. And so that's quite different, as John was saying, about this comparisons with others. And if this is the first time you're listening to something like this, John mentioned FXT. In a nutshell, that's part-time contract workers. So they were not included in the Encompas mental health wellness program coverage for benefits in the past, and that has now changed. And I think we'll touch a little bit on that as we move forward here. So,
yeah, Scott, I don't. So as far as the self-administration of benefits, there's only two in the province of Ontario that self-administer. So there's Ottawa Police Service, and they deal directly with their police services board, and ourselves, which we deal with the Ontario government. And there's no one else in the Ontario government that self-administers their program, their benefits program. So that makes it quite difficult, like I said, when we have to get those different levels of approval with government, because there's a lot of politics that come to play when we're dealing with that. And you're absolutely right. I apologize when I said FXT. They are the part-time employees that we do have that work alongside our full-time frontline and civilian members within the OPP that did not have access to our Circle of Care program, Encompas, our mental health wellness program, and what that program brings to the OPP. It's not part of our benefits. It's something that we negotiated in our contract for coverage for our members so that they would get a Circle of Care, a navigation program to assist them with resources that could be provided to them to deal with any type of serious or even a very minor mental health issue. It's about wellness of our members. And although our FXTs are part-time and they're part-time and they're not full-time members, but they work alongside full-time members that have access to that program. And we wanted our members to get the our FXT part-time members to have access to that program as well.
Scott, if I can just jump in, just when it comes to FXT members, just a little bit of clarity. They're not so much part-time as they are on contract. So they do work full-time hours. They just are on contract. Some contracts may run 3 months, 6 months, a year, but they are just not a classified member, just for a little bit of clarity on our FXTs.
We're always learning, and having this dialogue on a podcast helps the rest of the people learn. I wasn't aware that Ottawa self-administered as well, so learn something new every day, and I really appreciate both John and David here making all these clarifications. So moving forward, this one's over to you, David. You are the first ever vice president of the OPP Associations who's a civilian member. And can you tell us what the reaction of the membership to the new contract deals was? And in particular, with this question to you, I'm interested in what the civilian members were thinking about it.
Yeah, thanks, Scott, for that. The civilian members were, by the numbers of the ratification vote, clearly very excited and happy with the contract. We were able to achieve the same annual compensation across the board as we have in the past for our civilian members, to stay in line with what the sworn members receive. We were able to also achieve some some really special salary adjustments to specific positions within the organization, which were a one-time adjustment, and we hadn't seen anything like that in well over a decade. So we were very excited to be able to achieve that for special constable members within Queen's Park and General Headquarters, courts, offender transport. We're also able to achieve it for members within our garage, in the some of the drivers down there. We were able to achieve it. And although there are other members within the organization that had been hoping for a special adjustment, one of our continued themes through the ratification town halls was that, as Johnny kind of mentioned earlier, we were not able to achieve everything we wanted, but this was a very good opening of the door so that moving forward, looking at other positions, the door has been open to the special adjustment. So that was, I can't explain how huge of an accomplishment that was. And what it did was it brought our members in the PCCs, special constables, to the equivalent of what their peers are making in other police services. Because up until this point, they had been drastically compensated at a lower rate than their peers in other organizations. And it was imperative when we started this process that we were able to get these adjustments, and very happy that we were able to achieve that for those members in the PCCs and the specials and other positions like I had mentioned. Also with the PCCs, we're able to achieve a 3% frontline premium, which was something that had been on our radar. Other police associations had been starting to bring that on with their services. So we were able to jump onto that. Johnny had mentioned the inclusion of our FXTs to the Integrated Mental Health Program, which was a huge thing for our membership. So we were able to achieve quite a few things. For our members down in the garage, we were able to get a tool adjustment that, reflected what, with inflation, what tools and go for on the market. And so there's quite a bit of things that we were able to achieve outside of the annual compensation across the board. So the civilian members seem to have been very happy.
Well, that's great. Thanks, David. So, John, I'll turn it over to you to discuss the new uniform collective agreement.
Thanks, Emily. So with regards to our uniform collective agreement, we had notable improvements. And I speak to this a lot, but our primary mandate on the uniform side was compensation. I know David spoke to the civilian collective agreement and some of the improvements there, which were, we bring a whole bunch of proposals to the table. And even though we're not successful on some, doesn't mean we didn't have the discussion and we didn't give our position. And we take a position on all of our proposals, and they know. And, depending on how serious we are with those proposals at the time, we put various arguments to the table. And you know what? All proposals we bring forward, we're serious about. We wouldn't bring them forward if we weren't serious. It's a want by the membership. We do a wide variety of things through surveys, dealing with our branches and their input from the membership on what the membership's looking for when we go to bargaining. So just because we didn't get something doesn't mean that we didn't speak to it and we didn't have it on the table, because even though we're not successful with the improvement, they know that we were quite serious about it. And like I said, this contract expires at the end of 2026, and they know some of the issues that we put on the table that we were not successful at this time, but more than likely we'll be coming back to the table in the next round. So I'm big on the compensation piece. I wanted my members to be competitive with their policing partners, not only on the uniform side, but on the civilian side. But specifically on the uniform side, we fell to 32nd in the province for our salary as first-class constable. And that's where we all compare ourselves, is the first-class constable salary wages. And we had fallen to 32nd, and as the OPP, the biggest police service in Ontario, we needed to be at the top or near the top as far as compensation. So the across the board increases, I think, are, I'm just going to say it, they're awesome for this type of environment of where we're at with our policing partners. For 2024, 25, and 26, we're number one. We're number one in the province, and that's where we wanted to be. Now, what's going to happen over the next few years with other police services obtaining new collective agreements? We may fall, but we won't fall to 32nd in the province ever again with the standing that we are at currently. There's a couple other things. It's a 4-year deal, and we were successful in getting the 3% frontline premium. That was another thing that we fell behind our policing partners. So within the majors, the Big 12, that we call it in Ontario, we were one of the last ones to get that frontline premium. And of course, it's because we had the delay in bargaining and things like that. But now we are equivalent in many with our policing partners in many aspects when it comes to the frontline premium. I call these one of foot in the door improvements. The 2 IC pay, we've never had any recognition for our 2 ICs working the front line. And they do tend to take on a lot of responsibility on their platoons with regards to, being the 2 IC and being accountable for everything, but not getting any additional pay. So that was one improvement there, as well as there's never been on call for the OPP, anything in the collective agreement in relation to on call. So this was on call. This on call provision applies to weekends. There is some compensation for that, and it's something that we'll improve on in the future, as well as there's increased incentives to various northern durations. Northern Ontario, we do have a fair amount of our membership that works in the north, and we had not seen enhancements to these incentives for quite a number of years. So it was good to see some improvements in especially the 2-year, 3-year, and 4-year durations, which we have a big number. And we also saw the elimination of 6-year durations. We always felt that 6-year durations were too long, and those were all moved into 5-year durations. But I'm sure we'll speak more to that as well. You know what? Many of these changes are there to just recognize the hard work and dedication of our members in the north as well, and looking towards their well-being, being in different detachments in northern postings where you're a little bit more isolated from infrastructure and services. So we were quite happy with those improvements.
Thanks a lot, John. I just wondered if you could, on the premium, who is eligible for that premium? Because we've got a lot of questions that have come in about the frontline premium. What exactly does frontline mean?
Yeah, so we worked hard on this, and this was what we saw happening in policing with the other police associations. It was about an incentive for the front line. Now, police services don't call their frontline. We call ours the front line. They gave it all a new name, but we tried to be consistent in a whole bunch of aspects with regards to the frontline premium. We wanted to work on a definition. We weren't trying to reinvent the wheel by no means. So a lot of the requirements and conditions that are set out with the new frontline premium, we just mirrored other police services, but gave it a different name. But, the the frontline premium should be applicable to members that are working frontline duties, responding to calls for service. They have their use of force, qualified. They're working on a rotational shift. Now, this may not, a rotational shift isn't just night shifts, but a rotational shift, right? It could be a day shift, afternoon shift. But it includes GLE patrol and, working in the HSD units. And like I said, we weren't trying to reinvent the wheel. We were mirroring what we had in other police services. And in addition, you have to take in modified shifts. We tried to include that in the definition. And within that premium, we have supervisors as well working the road. And they also attend calls and take the eyes on calls as well. So, we extended that to the sergeants as well that have duties of overseeing frontline response duties as well. So I think I covered most of that off in my initial, but, there is a definition of what frontline is and who's included and who's not included within that.
Well, great. Thanks for that, John. I appreciate that. So, David, over to you. We frequently get asked from members when the pay increase will show up on members' paychecks and when they can expect retro pay. Can you chat about that a little bit?
Sure. It is on everybody's mind, and totally understand that from a member perspective. Unfortunately, I'm not the bearer of the greatest news because there is no specific date that I can give. What we can tell you is that we've had multiple conversations with TBS on this, and it's in the hands of Ontario Shared Services. There are other bargaining units across the Ontario Public Service that have ratified deals, and so there are delays in getting the retro payments out because there is a schedule of payments to other OPS bargaining units, and we are slated for our retro payments and for our across the board salary increases. Wishful thinking is that at the latest, we are very hopeful by the end of this calendar year, 2024, that we will see both the retro and the across the board salary increases on members' paychecks.
Well, thanks for that, David. Hopefully that happens. And I know a lot of people just show me the money. Like that's basically the questions we're getting at our communications end here. So
definitely, Scott, we're getting a lot of that. And I know at the branch level, our branch executives are receiving those inquiries just like we are at the board level. And it really is not in our hands, but we have been pushing through conversations to advocate and push this forward as quickly as possible. We'd like to see it done properly so that there are not an influx of issues afterwards. So it's paramount that they do it and do it properly. Rather have it done properly and wait an extra few weeks than see a ton of mistakes and then members having to be frustrated and having to go back to their managers or OSS and try to rectify problems. So again, hopefully by the end of the year.
Well, thanks, David. And that is the OPS Service Center. So for they call it OPSSC. If you're one of our members at the bottom of our email communications that come out, we call them blast outs. There's always these phone numbers about where you can make an inquiry for a number of different things, including for the OPSSC. And for active members requiring assistance with critical pay issues, you can call 416-915-7772 or toll free 1-888 996-772, and we'll put those numbers in the show notes of this podcast. So, John, we also get a lot of inquiries here about members who retire and come back to work part-time, and they're inquiring about their pensions. How does coming back to work as a part-time member, kind of to help with the staffing shortage, can you explain any implications for that in the new contract?
Yeah, thanks, Scott, for that question. But before I jump into that, I just want to go back to when we can expect the retro and the increases. Our promise as a board to the membership is this, that every conversation that we have with Treasury Board at these implementation meetings starts off with, can you give us an update on where we're at with increases and retro payments? So they know that the pressure is on. Every conversation that we have beyond Treasury Board and any updates that we give to the government, to the Solgen's office, other levels of Treasury Board, we reiterate that piece. And we will continue to reiterate that until everything is put in place. But I agree with David. It has to be done accurately because we don't need all these errors to bog up the system. They need to do it right and get it done, but get it done as efficiently as they can and as quick as they can. And so we will continue to put that pressure on OSS. I call them OSS, but we will continue that fight. And like I said, every conversation. And when we do have an update with substance, the membership will be the first ones to know about that. So, yeah, so just with regards to our retirees that have come back and they're working either part-time, mostly part-time, but they have a certain requirement of hours that they can work within a period of time so that there is no impact. I can say the lump sum retroactive payments for those members that have recently retired are not subject to the current reemployment limits. So the retro payments will not result in any clawback. So they're not considered as regular or ongoing remuneration with regards to their salary. So they're not included when they're reporting their quarterly reemployment earnings. But once the salary adjustments are all made, all the increases are in full force. When members are working, that will count. The higher earnings will count towards their limits. So whenever those 2023 wages and 2024 wages are put in force, that's when the members have to really ensure that they are not exceeding the limit, because there will be additional clawback at that point if they go in excess of their limits. I think that's all I think I can say to that piece. I think I've covered it off with respect to our retired members' calculations of their reemployment limits.
So, John, I'll just continue with you. A question about the new contract includes a provision allowing current members with prior service in a non-commissioned body to apply for vacation entitlement based on their total years of service, but it's a one-time application. Can you explain this a little bit more in detail?
So thanks, Emily, for that. There will be repeated communication on this through blast outs to the membership with regards to this provision on continuous service. So, yeah, when we speak to the one time, it's for current members that are currently with the OPP that may have been turned down over the last few years that meet the new provisions that we were able to enhance within the sections of Article 13. Specifically, we're looking at unbroken full-time service. So, you have to be cognizant of that piece. That's the first piece. But when we're talking about the one time, it's for current members. when new members come to the OPP, the sections and enhancements, improvements within Article 13 will apply to them. So that's why we will have increased blast outs to ensure as of January 1st, 2025, that our members within 60 days, that's 2 months, they can put in their request if they were missed in the past because they were not covered by the parameters of 1310, as well as now the new improvements, which, I'll quickly just go through it. So for continuous service, you have to be with the Ontario Public Service, have unbroken full service time. In addition to that, same thing applies if you were with a police force, which is amalgamated with the OPP, Canadian Forces Military Police, a person that came from that line of work, any OPP-administered First Nations police, and any other Canadian police service. So effective January 1st of 2025, now we're going to include members that had any previous service in an Ontario public body or commissioned public body going forward. So we will continue to put that messaging out. I believe there's a link to the Ontario and Public Commission Bodies list, which would be included, and we will provide that for members. And if they come from that line of work and have previous experience, and like I said, if their time is unbroken and it's full-time service, they will be able to bring that time over. But there's the big but. This is on the member to do. So we will continue to message it out, but it's up to the members to come forward because we will not have access to the information of any type of previous continuous service with another public body, Ontario public body, or commissioned public body. So I just want everyone to be cognizant of that the OPPA cannot track that, nor can the OPP track that previous information. It's only when it's recognized by the OPP that the database will change. So all members, and that message will be put out to the membership. I believe we're going to start communicating that out in September, that the members have to be very proactive in this, especially our current members, because they only have that 60-day window.
Thanks, John. We're going to put the link to the Ontario and Public Commission Bodies list in the show notes. It's on the Government of Ontario website under the Laws and Regulations section. So there'll be a link there. You can go to check that out. And just in summary, this is for vacation entitlement. It doesn't change seniority for selection or anything like that. And just like anything else, it's up for interpretation. I think the latest word is that we don't quite know what the process is going to be for that, but we will know very soon. So stay tuned. If you're not signed up for the website and you're a member out there, please get signed up for the website so that you're receiving our communications on everything, including this item here. So, John, we're sticking with you here. You mentioned early duration postings. And I just wanted to kind of get into a little bit more of the weeds on that because we are getting questions on it. What needs to be known exactly about changes to the duration postings? And I'm going to read out a sample question that we're receiving here. So with the new contract being finalized, the Kenora OPP is changing from a 6-year duration to a 5 years. I'm wondering if the new duration timeline would apply to officers who started before this new contract. This particular officer had been in Kenora since June 2019, and with the new contract, he's thinking duration was complete at that time. Can you confirm?
Yeah, I can confirm. So when there's ever a change to a duration and we have current members within that duration, and now the duration is shortened, all members benefit from that piece, and that's how this will move forward. So that member that started in a 6-year duration, it will now be a 5-year duration as of January 1st, 2025. And let's just say if they had 1 year completed in that 6-year duration, they'll have 1 year completed in a 5-year duration. So instead of 5 more years to go, they'll only have 4 more years to go. So it works out into their favor. I just want to reiterate on the improvements for the durations. I just want to stress that, we included more locations in the north for the 2-year duration. There was one duration posting that was moved from a 5-year to a 4-year. That was Wawa detachment. And then, like I said earlier, all 6-year durations have been eliminated and those 6-year durations have become 5-year durations. And we do have a listing that we provided at ratification, and it will be within the new collective agreement. But for the members out there, primarily all 6-year durations are now 5, where the example that we put forward will apply to them, as well as that one instance where the 5-year became a 4-year for Wawa. That will also apply to them as well, for all current members that are currently in that duration prior to January 1st, 2025.
Thanks, John. We're going to put a link to a list in the show notes. So if you're listening to this and you want to see all the detachments, because if we listed all these detachments, we'd be here for an hour. You'll be able to access to see if it applies to you.
Great. So we're starting to wrap things up. A lot of information, a lot of good stuff comes so far. But this goes to John and David. Are there any key points about the new contracts that you think are important for our members to fully understand, as it can be a little bit complex?
I can probably jump in first there, David, and then you can jump in. You know what? There's a lot of changes that have occurred over this collective agreement. Like I said, we're into the implementation process as we have information to come forward. And I know that we could not think of every specific scenario in relation to a certain enhancement or improvement that we've done. And we're getting questions on that. How about this position? Are they entitled to this type of a premium? Things like that. Please keep sending those types of questions in. We will bring those to implementation and try to secure at least an answer for you of where people fall within these types of enhancements that we've made. In addition, with implementation, there's always Q&As that come out, information sharing documents that will be both blasted out, and that's probably the wrong word to say, but we call them blast outs from the OPPA. But that messaging will also be put out through the OPP as well. Both the employer and the bargaining agent will put messaging out to the membership when we have conclusive agreement on certain improvements. And like I said, we can't think of every scenario, and that's why sometimes that's what specifically these implementation meetings are for, is to, wait a second, we didn't think of this group of people. They think that they should be getting this enhancement, and we work through that. So, like I said, we'll continue to work through the implementation. It will take some time, but as the days go by and the meetings that we have, we're usually good to get things completed and messaged out to the membership. So you will start seeing these types of messages beginning in September, and messaging back to certain inquiries that members have put forward with regards to certain scenarios.
John, I just want to, obviously there's interpretation on both sides of anything that's new. My understanding is there was no concessions. If there is a disagreement between the employer and the association on an interpretation, what happens then about anything?
Yeah, so when we have an interpretation issue, depending on what is currently in the collective agreement and what other articles pertain to certain enhancements or changes to the collective agreement, if there's still that interpretation gap, we would have to put in a grievance to rectify the issue. But hopefully through the implementation meetings, we will be able to come to a good compromise. As you said, no concessions. there were no concessions. There may be certain various means that the employer may deal with certain articles, which we see that they shouldn't be dealt in that certain way. They should be dealt with in another way. But even though there's that interpretation gap, there's no concession there. The members are still getting everything they're entitled to within the collective agreement.
And David, over to you. Do you have any last key points regarding this that you want to make?
Yeah, just specifically two that I'd mention is I went into special adjustments earlier, and I just want to articulate to the members out there who feel that their positions require a salary adjustment and believe that what they're doing is undercompensated for in comparisons to their peers in other police services doing similar work, that they reach out and connect with the association, myself in particular, and I can work with them to prepare for the next go around of bargaining. And on that note, a part of what came out of bargaining was a collective agreement review committee. In essence, what this will do in theory is that we did have a delay in how long bargaining took, and there was justified reasonings behind it with Bill 124 and what have you. But with this committee, there'll be work that's being done behind the scenes in preparation for the next round of bargaining between ourselves and the employer to prepare and to start being in a position that once the collective agreement ends the next time, at the end of 2026, that we are able to move into bargaining immediately and hopefully come to a resolution and ratification much quicker.
Thanks for that, David. We did talk about at the top of the podcast here that we were going to update on a few other things. So we're going to move on from the contract. It is quite busy here at the OPPA on a number of fronts here moving into the fall of 2024. And I know that there's a new strategic plan being worked on. John, can you update us on that endeavor?
Yeah, Scott, I can do that. Yeah, so our new strategic plan will be designed, but not limited to addressing key areas that we want to enhance, but primarily some of our things we really want to look at is member engagement and education, member services, and advancing our advocacy efforts. So we do have a comprehensive plan that will guide our priorities and actions over the next several years. I can say, though, we'll put our minds to this once implementation's done and our benefits are completed. So it may get delayed over the next little while, but I look forward to working with the board to solidify our collective vision for the association and for the future of the association. I know our commitment is to continue to work together to build a stronger and more resilient association that is second to none. I've always been a proponent of that we need to be second to none. And I believe many of the things and mandates that we've done as an association board, leading the membership, that is our focus. And I do see that in our interactions with our stakeholders at the Canadian Police Association and the Police Association of Ontario. And when we're sitting at the table with those groups, with other associations, that we are still an association that is looked up to for our experience and our insight on many of the issues that we deal with in the policing profession. I know we don't celebrate our achievements as much as we should, but I can tell you that our main goal is to look after the membership, always has been, and to advocate, in the best interests of our membership and to strive for excellence in every aspect that we try to achieve for our membership. So I know our commitment to the membership as a board is to always put the fight out there for them. So, and we'll continue to do that. We'll continue to fight. Sometimes we don't get the best resolution, but we do get something. And that's what we strive to do. I always say this, there's a problem. Let's provide some solutions to that problem, and let's solve the problem. Let's try to do it in a very quick manner that helps the member get through it as well. Because that's the other aspect of this. Issues sometimes will go on for years. And it's not that we're not trying to do our darnest to get it completed. Sometimes it's just all the various levels of government that we have to get through sometimes, as well as the issues at hand. I've always said this with regards to arbitration, especially when we were doing the last couple rounds of bargaining. It's nothing's guaranteed when you go to arbitration, and there's delays, and sometimes the outcome's not the best outcome either. So we as an organization, we try to work every angle before we get to an arbitration to ensure that we can get the best settlement, resolution, compromise, whatever you want to call it, for our membership. And we will continue to advocate for our members in that respect.
So, David, one final question for you. The OPPA annual general meeting is coming up in October in Collingwood, and it's hard to believe it's been a year already. But what should members expect from the meeting? And if they want to get involved, how can they do that?
Thanks, Emily. So this year we'll have some of the items that we typically have, like a visit from the commissioner and the deputies. We'll be bringing in some representation from the OPP in some of the more high-end areas that affect the membership quite a bit, like CTSB and fleet. Also, we'll be doing some training for our branch executive members, and other meetings with some stakeholders from the OPP and outside of the organization, like the Ontario Pension Board. We are currently working on finalizing the agenda over the next couple of weeks. And as for the membership, if they're interested, there will be a letter sent to each member, as we do yearly, to let them know about the AGM and how they can get involved and attend if they so choose to. This year, there's no board of directors elections. That'll resume in 2025 with 4 elections. But as of this year, there are no elections.
I want to thank you both for your time today. This has been a really great discussion. Do you have any final thoughts or messages that you want to share as we wrap up?
I just want to, thanks for the opportunity, to speak to the membership. Once again, I just want to say thank you to the membership for their dedication and solidarity with regards to the ratification of our collective agreement. Our commitment, like I said, though, is to, keep serving the membership and looking out for the membership. Please, any issues that you do have or any input, we're open to that. We just want to do, the membership better. We want to do better. And I think with that collaboration and communication, we can get there.
And I'll just throw in a thank you to the membership for your patience while we got these agreements completed. We realize it took time, and with all the moving parts, it felt long and tedious at times, but we do appreciate your patience as we got through it, through the ratification, and now through the implementation. Please know that if you do have questions, always send them into oppa@oppa.ca. And we try to get through and respond to all questions that are sent in. And also, I just want to close off by saying thanks to our sworn and civilian members for everything you all do day in and day out.
And once again, thank you both for joining us today. It's been a very insightful conversation. And also a big thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Remember, new episodes drop every other Friday on all major podcast platforms. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And until next time, stay safe.